All right, this is part 3 of stars, the universe, and a new branch of metaphysics. Now we're going to get into the new branch of metaphysics. I had to lay down the first 2 videos so you had the fundamental understanding. A new branch, societal polarity and the war for spiral sovereignty. Now that we've seen the universe as a living being, we have to ask, how does that being breathe through civilization? Because the breath doesn't stop at stars, it flows through societies. This is a new branch of metaphysics I want to share with you. Societies are not just cultural, they are polarized vortex systems, energetic expressions of a deeper cosmic polarity. Just like people, civilizations spiral. Some spiral upward toward life, others spiral downward toward entropy. This is a war of polarities. There are 2 major poles of society right now. One spirals inward, implosion, collapse, consumption, lower chakras. The other spirals outward, explosion, expansion, creation. It's not good versus evil in a cartoonish way. It's Christos versus Metatronic, organic versus synthetic, heart versus control. And this is not symbolic. This is field mechanics. Metatronic societies operate on implosion. They suck in life force to maintain structure. They consume more than they generate. They appear modern in first world countries. Think about the Western countries here. But they are inverted. Examples: United States, Israel, Western globalist empires. These are civilizations that create crisis after crisis to feed a descending spiral. They need fear, they need control, they need collapse, because implosion is their fuel source. They do not breathe outward, they compress, they restrict, they invert natural law. Organic civilizations, explosive spirals of regeneration. On the other hand, organic societies breathe outward. Their energy is explosive, but in a sacred way, like a flower blooming, like a star giving birth. They spiral toward freedom, ritual, nature, and balance. Think Iran, indigenous nations, earth-based tribal lineages. These societies are not perfect, but they spiral up. They're closer to nature, the old ways. They're not all about consuming and consumerism and being the next greatest, richest person ever. They are generative. They are restorative. They are resonant with the earth grid, which is why the Metatronic system attacks them relentlessly, because upward spirals interrupt implosive control. War is a ritual of polarity collapse. Make no mistake, war is not just a resource grab, it's an energetic reset. It's an attempt to collapse the outward spiral by forcing a civilization back into implosion. Every time the human consciousness begins to expand, Metatronic system trigger a polarity inversion. Another war, another psychological operation, another vortex of fear. Why? Because implosion is unsustainable without extraction. They need to siphon the explosion energy of others to keep their system intact. It's parasitic vortex economics. This is literal vortex warfare. They don't just attack land, they attack polarized nodes on Earth's grid. They hijack sacred vortex points, ley lines, temples, and sacred sites, and they invert the field from explosion to implosion. They install trauma, they broadcast fear, they loop crisis. That's why every war zone becomes a black hole of consciousness, and why peace is never allowed to take root there. Sound familiar? It's because peace is an expansive polarity. It generates, it explodes, it heals, but the system needs compression. Polarized spirals, the blueprint of civilization. Let's lock in here. There are only 2 types of spirals a society can follow. Implosive spiral, Metatronic, feeds off crisis, collapses energy inward, consumes others to survive, always in control mode. Explosive spiral, organic, breathes energy outward, grows by resonance, generates surplus, doesn't dominate, it expands in harmony. And here's the secret. Every war, every media storm, every engineered panic is a forced polarity reversal. It's a Metatronic system dragging humanity back into the implosive spiral. But you are a sovereign spiral. You are a sovereign being. That's why your vibration matters. Your breath, your actual, literal, inhale and exhale is what aligns you with explosive sovereignty. Not destruction, but generation. Not dominance, but expansion. Because every time you spiral upward, every time you breathe love, create beauty, or refuse to collapse, you're breaking the parasitic field. Civilizations are vortex expressions of soul polarity. This is the new metaphysical revelation. Civilizations are not neutral, they are polar vortexes, either rooted in Christos explosion or Metatronic implosion. And when you see it that way, you no longer get caught in the theater of global events. You start to track the spiral signature. You see who is generating energy and who is feeding on it. You realize that the war is a polarity collapse ritual, and peace is not pacifism, it's filled reclamation. Choose the polarity of your breath. The war is not between countries, it's between implosive systems that need you to fear, and explosive souls who came here to birth a new octave. So ask yourself, is your spiral consuming or creating? Because the only way the Metatronic grid collapses is when enough of us return to our original breath, the upward spiral of source explosion. And once you live from that, there's no going back into collapse. So really think about what I'm saying here. God is like balance, right? Or when we're looking at explosion, implosion, hot, cold, right? Darkness or light. You always have these two forces in everything in the universe, everywhere. And what I discovered today, that it's actually how societies work. And it's all energetic. And I'll probably put out like an official science paper and go into it, but I conceived it today, so I wanted to get it out to the world so everyone could understand that as above, so below, as within, so without. So it's all the same things going on. And so, you know, whales and geese flying in the sky, you know, they think as like one mind. And, you know, when they're flying in form or anything like that, it's like one body moving, right? That's how all of us are. But every time that we get to a point where we're starting to gain enlightenment, they have another reset. They have another collapse. They already know when the cycles of all the cataclysms. So what they do is every time we start to raise, another war, another this, another that, another crisis, this, another crisis, that. It's literally a metaphysical battleground. And they're always trying to push us down because that is how they consume. And the reason I did the energy videos on pulling, you know, people pulling energy out of you, sucking your essence out all the time, was to show you this is what's happening everywhere and everything. And this is how they're using this new branch of metaphysics, or it's already happening. I'm just now explaining it in a way that either probably no one's ever conceived or ever thought of, but I know there are no scientific papers on it. And to my knowledge, I'm the first. But everything works the same way. And if I hadn't went back to the breath of Brahma, followed where that took me, where the black hole took me, to see that it's actually a living being. Everything is actually a living being. And I'm sure you recognize, you know, chakras as planets, all that type of stuff. But this is what's happening all the time. And now you can understand it metaphysically. Hope you have a great night. Namaste.